There are new details emerging in the torture of a white special needs teen in Chicago. You'll remember the video as it was streamed live on Facebook. The 4 African-American attackers now facing hate crime and other charges. President Obama weighing in on this senseless attack as well. Let's discuss this with political editor for TheRoot.com and professor of political science and communication at Morgan State University, Professor Jason Johnson, and Chicago Sun-Times crime reporter Frank Maine. Good to have you both there. Let's start on the ground. Frank, what is this being taken as in the city of Chicago?
Well, as you know, Chicago has been roiled by racial tension over the last year because of police issues. And so this is more fuel on the fire, I think, involving race. Rahm Emanuel, the mayor, weighed in on this yesterday. As other politicians, he called it sickening. But he also said, look, Chicago is also a place where millions of people come every year. So, you know, there are obviously tourists who feel comfortable coming here, and this doesn't kind of represent, you know, Chicago as a whole.
Yeah. People were wondering, Jason, if it was going to be, if in fact they were going to be charged with a hate crime. Yes, they have been,
right,
in part because of the racial component. You could hear them saying racist things, but also because they targeted a mentally disabled teenager. That also constitute a hate crime. What it did not turn out to be, according to police, I mean, we have to go to the primary source,
right,
is at all connected to Black Lives Matter, though right-wing websites were claiming that.
Yeah, racists are going to say racist things. You know, look, if I committed a bank robbery tomorrow with a Giants jersey on, it's not Eli's fault, right? Just because someone is black and commits a heinous crime doesn't mean that they're associated with the organization. What I think, though, in this case is this is actually how the justice system is supposed to work. People did something bad, they got caught, they've been publicly condemned, they're going to be convicted. I wish similar things had happened in that case with the high school in Iowa, where 2 white students raped a mentally disabled teammate, you know, and they escaped. You know, they weren't given hate crime, fines or anything else like that. So I hope future cases are treated this way.
Now, often, as you know this, but many people don't. When police are involved in one of these situations, because all these analogies are being drawn between this situation and what's happened with policing situations, people often complain and say, why wasn't that cop arrested right away the way I would be? That's not how the system works. Police are given a suggestion of use of force as part of their job. They don't get arrested the way you or I would. That's something that people need to learn when they're reviewing something like this as well, no?
Well, it's true. And that's actually one of the things that lots of criminal justice activists are concerned with, that if you are a state agent and you use violence, you actually should be under greater scrutiny because we expect you to be more responsible when you're a police officer. But again, I think if we go back to this case, this is open and shut. You beat up some random person. You abuse some random person
on tape, streaming live on
tape,
Facebook.
streaming live, and they've been caught for it. And again, that should be how our justice system works, regardless of if you've got a badge or you're just a jerk.
Frank, the streaming live aspect of this was, of course, deplorable, though President Obama had a different spin or a different take on it. He basically said that social media is now allowing these things to be seen in a way they weren't before. Listen to him.
In part because we see visuals of racial tensions, violence, and so forth because of smartphones and the internet and the media. What we've seen is surfacing, I think, a lot of the problems that have been there a long time, whether it's tensions between police and communities, whether it's hate crimes of the despicable sort that has just now recently surfaced on Facebook. I take these things very seriously.
Frank, it's interesting. I read that you, having covered crime in Chicago for a long time, say that it is often the practice of gang members to broadcast themselves or their actions.
Right. So, first of all, let me say that police say there's no indication that any of these folks, these defendants, were gang members. But, yeah, in Chicago for years, gangs have antagonized each other by going on Facebook and posting messages and video and that kind of thing. And in a broader context, society is using social media every day. I can point to 4 or 5 hate crime cases in Cook County over the last 2 years in which, you know, hate speech or alleged hate speech was caught on video. You know, in one case, a woman was at a festival and, you know, used the N-word and apparently spat on someone, and she was charged with a hate crime. White people, black people have both been charged with hate crimes in Chicago in recent years. And the hate crime statute here is a very simple statute. All it says is that hate just has to be one of the motivations that you had when you committed a crime. And what the police department is saying is it was just simply the speech that was on those videos that constituted, you know, hate.
Right. So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword that it does reveal what's going on, but it also might incite it, because if you think that you're going to have more notoriety by posting it on Facebook. Jason, Frank, thank you very much for the reporting on all of this.
All right.